Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 11 of the Pop Punk Podcast with me, T Will Official, and my G-ass co-host, Mr. Daddy Mush. Say what's up.
What's up, everybody? Once again, thank you for that rousing introduction. Like every weekend, we're closing in on 3 months essentially of this. About to be 3 months next week, so it's time's flying.
Yeah, it's really crazy how long we've been keeping this up. But
Yeah, for once a week too, man, it's pretty insane.
it's been fun, and it's been pretty consistent too. Like, I know today, if you're watching this live on Twitch, I know we are not live at our usual time. Usually we go live Thursdays at 3:30. That obviously did not happen because it's currently, as of the live recording, it's Saturday, September 19th at 12:26 p.m. So we are a little fashionably late this week, but that's okay, because you know what, though? On YouTube, it's still going to be up Tuesday at noon. And we have kind of a part two this week. Like, last week, we talked about popular bands in the scene and, like, the entry-level stuff. And today, we're going to kind of talk about pretty much the reverse of that. We're going to talk about bands that we enjoy that aren't mainstream popular. We're going to kind of put on our hipster hats today. But before we do that, you already know what's coming. We start every episode out with this. What have you been listening to this week, sir?
Well, it's kind of more of the same, but but the CDs I've been listening to in my car on a constant rotation going to work is Census Fails, Let It Unfold You, uh, Keepsake, The End of Sound, which I'll be getting deeper into later on. Little tweet to anybody listening live or in general. Um, the Ataris, Newfound, Simple Plan, the usual stuff that I listen to.
Yeah,
So
the
I mean,
usual good
really
stuff.
nothing much has really changed.
Yeah. So I feel that.
I've been back on a Just Surrender kick, like hard by the last few days.
Oh,
But
just surrenders.
yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more. Yeah, Just Surrender. I've been
Yeah,
on that kick
so
a
all
little
right. So
bit, but
pretty much just more of the same. I gotcha.
yeah, there's really no big heavy hitters that I have to tell the world about. But yeah, it's pretty much been more of the same. But how about yourself, though? I know you're more generally more diverse
Yeah, more
than
like
your
all over
music
the place. All right,
taste.
so my top 5 on Spotify. It doesn't reflect what I've been listening to this week, because I kind of like this week I've been listening to a lot. I've been listening to a little bit of heavier stuff, and I've also been listening to a lot of Blink.
Okay,
Uh,
what kind of Blink are we talking about?
just pretty much all over. Not so much their new stuff, but like just pretty much all over. You know, from
All over the
like,
Tom DeLonge spectrum.
yeah, Carousel all the way to like Natives.
Oh well, hey man, that's to a lot of people, they say that's the last true Blink album, if I'm not mistaken, to a lot of the Tom only
As I
crowd.
think,
But
yeah, as I think we've both said. Uh,
yes, I mean, yes, Blink still exists, but we already had an entire episode about that.
yeah, we beat that
Everything comes back to
topic.
Blink. It's hilarious.
We beat that topic to death. But yeah, so my on repeat, it doesn't really reflect that, because I haven't really been on Spotify a whole lot this week. But so my top 5, just because that's like a staple of the podcast, is still is Bad Girls Club by Falling in Reverse, The Guillotine by
Okay.
Escape the Fate, Man of the Year by Juice World, Concert for Aliens by MGK, and then Game Over by Falling in Reverse.
So pretty much the same shtick the last few weeks, anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Although, like I said, like I have been listening to some different stuff. The on repeat just hasn't updated to reflect that yet.
Well, what have you been listening to that's not reflected on your on repeat? If I do so inclined to ask.
Well, just what I was saying earlier. Like I've been listening to some heavier stuff. Like I've been listening to a little bit of Killswitch Engage and like All That Remains and stuff. Because as you guys know, I don't like the heavy stuff as much as I like pop punk, but I do also enjoy the heavy stuff. It's a nice like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it breaks it up, right? Like, so like when I'm in the mood for something a little different, like I put on some like heavy stuff. So I've been listening to some heavier stuff, and then and then also like a whole lot of Blink.
It's not too bad at all. Sounds like a good change of pace, if I may say so myself.
Yeah. Yeah, because as I said before, like the like I can't even say Ronnie because it was also that second Escape the Fate album that just had a hold on me for like 3 weeks. Like it was literally all I was listening to. But I'm finally starting to listen to some other shit. Like Concert for Aliens, that one is I've been listening to a lot of Concert for Aliens. I still firmly like rappers are pretty much leading the pop punk revival with like MGK and like Juice World, well, rest in peace, and like a whole bunch of other emo rappers that's basically just pop punk over hip hop beats. And I'm kind of here for it because like the stuff they've been putting out is pretty good. Like Concert for Aliens is a straight up banger. As I know we said before, so I'm not gonna rehash too bad. I just while we're talking about like what we've been listening to.
Yeah, it's essentially, yeah. I mean, that song is fantastic, but as we digress.
Yeah, so that's what I've been listening to this week. And then if we're rounding out the top 7 on my own repeat, and then it's just there's no sympathy for the dead by Escape the Fate and Awkward Conversations by 5 Year Plan, which is a very very good song. I think they're just one of those bands that just kind of showed up in like my like Discover Weekly. Like I don't think they were particularly. This is actually a really good segue. I don't think they were particularly very big, but and I'm not gonna say like I'm a 5 Year Plan fan because I only know that song. But that song is incredibly catchy. That chorus, oh, I love that chorus. It
Yeah, I
sounds
gotta check it out.
it sounds like it could be in like an American Pie movie or something.
That's always a good sign for me.
Yeah,
Since I'm wearing my Drive Through Records hoodie as we speak right now.
yeah. If it sounds like it could be in like an early 2000s comedy, it's probably pretty good.
Yeah,
'Cause,
absolutely. But
again, I'm not gonna delve into it because I don't want to rehash because I know we already talked about this. But them early 2000s comedies and pop punk, they go hand in hand. Like American Pie did. Where's My Car? Little Nicky had
yeah,
kind
I
of a more
mean,
metal soundtrack, but it still had like Zebra Head and stuff on it.
yeah, I mean that would make sense as metal considering
Yeah, I
he's
mean
the devil's kid.
he's the son of Satan.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be yeah. So I mean I feel like metal just fits the whole aesthetic theme. I mean considering his two best friends in that movie, I'm not mistaken, were like the generic metalhead dudes with an Iron Maiden and crap.
Yeah, yeah. They're trying to like spin Ozzy's record back, and they're like, "What's Ozzy saying here, Nicky?"
He puts on Chicago.
I know. It's like I command you to spread the blood of the innocent.
Chicago's badass.
Oh my God, Chicago kicks ass.
Yeah, that's it. I haven't seen that movie in like 13 years, so you're lucky that I even know a reference or two.
No, it's okay. I have that movie on my Vudu, so I watch it occasionally.
Oh, very nice. But so I guess that 5 year plan is the perfect segue talking about our underrated or hidden
Yeah,
gems category.
the perfect segue. Today we're putting on our hipster hats. So yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'll let you take the floor. I'll let you start it off.
Oh well, thank you very much. Just for a disclaimer to anybody out there, to me, an underrated gem or like a band that is not well known, or kind of bands that never really achieved like that mainstream or even like big Warp Tour scene success. So I know a lot of bands like obviously the big hitters. We talk about the top 40, but even the second tier bands, I'm probably not going to talk about them that much because
So
we're going to bring up the star line.
for the sake of the podcast, what are some second tier bands? I know you just said the starting line.
Yeah, like the starting line to me is definitely not considered a hidden gem because anybody who's deep into like pop punk lore, I guess, anybody who's more deep into pop punk than just a standard, I guess, casual who only knows like Simple Plan and Sum 41 knows who the Starline is. I mean, they had two top 30 albums on the Billboard charts, and their one album that wasn't top 30, Disc Go Gold. And I mean, Best of Me has like 20 something million views on Spotify. So to me, they're not considered a second tier band. Other second tier bands I consider are like the drive-through bands, like the big drive-through bands, like the Movie Life.
So yeah, like the Movie
And
Life,
like
Finch,
Alistair,
Early November,
Alistair, Early November, because these are bands that did chart on Billboard's Top 100, and on the Heat Seekers they were like 10, 5, and they were on Warped Tour. So anybody who like knows like that's deep into pop punk, more than not already likely knows these bands exist. And then other bands I consider in that second tier, like Rufio's kind of on that. Well, Saves the Day is definitely a second tier band. I mean, they were on a couple late night shows when Stay What You Are came out. So I mean, that's definitely not a hidden gem because they were on talk shows.
Yeah.
So pretty much any band I'm talking about is bands that were below that tier. Like bands like, for example, I'm going to give out like Keepsake is, in my opinion, one of my favorite examples. Or hidden gem. Like you can't find almost anything about them. Like live performances on YouTube, there might be one or two videos. You go on their Spotify, I think their most played songs like 10,000 plays, and they never really eclipsed past the Glorified Local. Another band that I know that we're going to bring up a lot is like Better Luck Next Time. That's probably one of our going to be our big hitters too. Underrated gems.
You already know. That's yeah. Spoiler alert. I was gonna start my conversation out with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's other bands I want to delve deep into, but I just kind of wanted to give a nice example so people can kind of know what to expect moving forward. So,
Yeah. For me,
yeah. So what bands do you consider that?
For me, I definitely have a little bit of a looser criteria. For me, I'm just talking about bands that I feel need, well, maybe not need, but like should have more recognition than they do. So like you might see some bands in my list that maybe aren't like that maybe might be like second tier or like because I was gonna talk a little spoiler alert again. Stick around, we got some good stuff coming. But spoiler, I was also gonna talk a little bit about Billy Idol. So just bands that I personally feel should have more recognition than they do. And yes, please stick around because I think I have a very compelling argument for why Billy Idol would be in my list. So stick around.
And I guess another criteria for me too, or kind of, I'm not going to touch so deep into this because I don't have that much to talk about. But other bands are like bands that are big in other parts of the world, but are pretty much nothing to nobody's over here in the West too, as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably
people that are really big into pop punk that don't really that kind of want some bit more hidden gems because a lot of bands that even when I was deep into the Drive Thru Records bands, I mean I didn't even heard of Keepsake until Jimmy brought them up to me like 4 years ago. So I mean, like I said, like I kind of want people that love pop punk that may not know that these exist, and they'll be very happy to find out that they do because they're definitely worth listening to in 2020. So how about I guess you start the floor.
I told you to start the floor, sir.
Oh, well, I guess the first band I'm going to talk about in depth is this band Keepsake. They were active from the 90s and they broke up in, I want to say 2001, 2002. They had 3 full-length albums, and all 3 albums are all very different. Their first album was a straight up like screamo emo album. Like it's like true like real true screaming. It's pretty hardcore. Their third album was, I guess, their attempt of Got to Eat, because that's when they went on Fearless Records, which I guess is a decent sized label, and they took out like all this screaming, and they got like a bit more of a more straight up rock sound, but it failed miserably. And also, the second album to me is the one that I really want to talk about, The End of Sound, because that to me is truly one of pop punk's underrated gems out there. It came out in the year 2000, and it has the perfect mix of catchy pop punk hooks and lyrics. It's got a little bit of that doo-woppy sound that I crave, and it also has some good screaming and some good whininess to it. It's like the perfect it's just a combination of like 3 genres thrown into one. And they're from Coral Springs, Florida, which is the same hometown as one of the big hitters, New Found Glory. And they used to play with New Found Glory and another South Florida like pop punk screamo post hardcore band Glass Eater, which definitely achieved more success than Keepsake, but they're also underrated in their own right too. Glass Eater.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? It's like 1998 or 1999.
Yeah.
And you're just playing with New Found Glory, who I think back then they were still a New Found Glory. And
yeah, they were still a New Found Glory.
And like you guys are on the same level. Like it's not like, oh, we're opening for New Found. No, we're playing with New Found Glory.
Yeah, and it's even crazier because imagine you're a kid in high school And at the Coral Springs High School football field, it's Newfound Glory or a Newfound Glory, Keepsake, and Glass Eater. Just all that you're playing at your high school football field. Like it's like a scene out of a movie.
Yeah.
And they're all and like because Keepsake and Newfound Glory at the time were signed to the same record label. They're all signed to Eulogy Records, which is predominantly actually a hardcore label because I know that was Set Your Goals' first label too. And they were also they were mostly hardcore, but they did have some kind of like emo pop punk acts on there, which is why Newfound Glory, coming from the hardcore scene, that's why they were on there with Shai Hulud because that was their label. And Keepsake's first album was a Screamo album. So they're all signed to like a hardcore label.
I don't want to derail. I just want to say real quick. I remember, I think my first exposure to Shai Hulud, I don't even think I knew Chad Gilbert was in the band at the time because I don't think he's on this song. But my first exposure to Shai Hulud was they had a song in Saints Row 3 on the metal station.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, Shai Hulud's just typical hardcore where they have like 50 different former members and no lineup is ever the same on every album. Everything's like one dude.
Yeah.
Insane. But with Keepsake, though, finishing up with Keepsake, though, like there were this. If you like pop punk or like screamo or any sort of like emo pop punk sound, the End of Sound album is definitely your go-to because it's one of my personal favorites. Some of my favorites on that album is my favorite by them is She Hums Like a Radio. Like Girls Don't Know.
Wait, She
Hums Like a Radio.
Okay, all right. You cut out, so I was just making sure you were like clear for the.
My bad.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, She Hums Like a Radio. Girls Don't Know, and I like 8 Months Till May because they're all great songs. And if you like that kind of whiny emo pop punk with just enough screaming, it's definitely up your alley. And they're very unknown because I think they're most played. I mean, outside of their cover of Faith Hill and the Punk Goes Pop album, I think their most played original song has 15,000 plays on Spotify. So they're pretty hidden, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm going to bring up another band I think me and you can have more of a co-discussion about with Better Luck Next Time. One of the true
absolutely. Yeah,
of this genre that they did not get big at all.
Now you're speaking my language because I said a while back with Spotify and everything, right? I feel like I don't really have favorite bands anymore because I just listen to like a song and like I'll know maybe like one or two songs from a band that I really like Just Surrender, like I was saying, like I know one or two songs that I really like by a band, but I can't really call them one of my favorite bands because those are the only like two songs I know. But Better Luck Next Time is probably the closest thing to like a favorite band since I started listening to Spotify because I have listened to all of their albums pretty much on repeat, which is unheard of for me because like I said, I usually just kind of bounce between songs. When you have like every single artist at your fingertips, it's hard to not want to just bounce between songs. But Better Luck Next Time, I keep coming back to every single time.
Yeah, they're great. They're they're from the mid 2000s to like the early 10s, and they
I mean their first
seems to be straight out of 02.
Yeah, their first album was like 2005, but it sounds like it straight up be like 2000, 2001.
Yeah, I know. And then they're like 08, and like when every band was going like Mall Emo or Neon or Easy Core, they just stay true to the formula and just keep coming out with gummy, awesome, catchy pop punk songs. All 4 albums are fantastic, and if you love like Alistair and stuff like that, they're like, in my opinion, like kind of like the modern day Alistair, where they're just straight up just like pop punk. Like you just look at them and that's a pop punk.
All 4 of their albums is just pure pop punk. All 4 of their albums are really consistent too. Like they don't really bounce around between like styles. Like you hear a Better Luck Next Time song and like that's them, that's their sound.
Yeah, and what's interesting about them is that they're great because they're catchy. Like all 4 albums sound the same, but all 4 albums sound great and they're all worth revisiting too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And like there's slight changes. Like I think the later albums don't have like their keyboard player, so it doesn't have like that.
Yeah, the
cool,
first 2 have the keyboard. The last two
Yeah.
don't have a keyboard.
Yeah, I mean it's
But
not a big difference because even on the first couple albums, the keyboard was really like it was more of like a background thing. Like it helped make the song sound more full and sound better. But like with him being gone, like it didn't make a huge change to their sound.
yeah, it's not like 4 Years Strong when they got rid of their synth player. Like when 4 Years Strong got rid of their synth player, it was like you could definitely tell the difference. Synth was pretty prevalent in the first two albums. 4 Years
Yeah,
Strong.
no, their first album, yeah, like my one of my favorite songs. I think it's like "Prepare to Be Digitally Manipulated" or something. That's
Yeah,
like
that's
the
just
synth.
straight
The
that's
synth like is like the riff of that song. Like the guitar is really just like playing chugs in the background, but the
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot
synth
of
is
4 Years
really
Strong.
like that's like your lead riff for the song. Like the I'm gonna stop before I get demonetized, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's a great album. But yeah, with Better Luck Next Time, it's more in the background. You know what I mean? It's just more kind of
Yeah.
like how there's keyboards and Damn
Yeah.
It by Blink, but
And
you really don't notice it.
And you know, it's
I mean, you
kind
notice it,
of
but it's not like
that's honestly the kind of shit I like, where it's like, cause it gives you something to look out for when you listen to a song again, right? Like you probably won't hear it on your first listen, but then you listen again, and you're like, wait, holy crap, is there synth playing in the background? And it's
That's
just
cool.
little things like that like catch your catches your ear, and it just helps make a song sound more full, more layered, and more cool.
So, what is your favorite Better Luck Next Time album?
My favorite album overall is probably Start From Scratch. My favorite song.
That's probably my second favorite of them.
I don't know if I could tell you what my favorite song is because it used to be the title track from Start From Scratch, which is it's the title track, so it's also called Start From Scratch. Lately, I feel like I've been listening to Shoebox Memories a lot more, which I guess that's like their hit. I say hit in quotation marks because I mean like they're a part of the underrated bands episode, so you know clearly they're very underrated. But that's the one where it's like number one on plays on their Spotify, and that's like I guess their defining song. I love that opening, and I want to have an opening like that in Knockout Kings, where it's just like that real like grand, for lack of a better term, like opening where it's like it's got the rhythm that kind of rings out like the dun dun dun, and then like a little slimy riff playing.
It's pretty epic.
I love it, and
it's pretty epic.
Inspired a little bit by the punk rock NBA, I also kind of want to talk a little bit about why I think Better Luck Next Time didn't get as big as they did. It's because I am in no way like saying this is exactly why, but this is why I think they didn't really break through. Is because their music was awesome, but all their albums are kind of very similar. And they're also just, I think, a little late to the party. Like their first album, it is 2005, sounding like a straight out of 01. Which is awesome for us, because it's exactly what I want to listen to music-wise. But as far as, like...
change of pace from all the volume.
Yeah, but, like, as far as trends go, like, they were a little behind. Like, 2005 was still, like, that's, like, Chronicles of Life and Death by Good Charlotte. And, like, you know... Like, My Chemical Romance was, like, the big thing. They're just out here playing inoffensive, like, really, like, upbeat, happy pop punk. And it's a shame, because they're really good. But, yeah, I think it's a mixture of them being a little behind on the times, as well as just them not changing up their sound.
And I also think they didn't really care, to be honest with you. I think they were really do-it-yourself anyway. Like, they produced and recorded all their music anyway. Like, they only had, like, one guy to...
Yeah, and I know...
So they were very do-it-yourself.
And I know music means different things to different people. Some people are about the art, and they're like, yo, I don't care if I make it big. And some people are about being successful, and they're like, yo, I want to do whatever I can to make sure that we sell. And I don't think either way of looking at it is wrong. I think both ways are pretty valid. So if that's what they wanted, then that's exactly what they got. And they got...
Yeah, I mean...
They got, like, fans out of us. And I'm sure the people that know them love them. Because there's this... for that like specific, I guess, demographic they're going after, that's like it's really fucking good.
Yeah, and like they were just they just made music and it was great. I mean, like I said, because like you said earlier how like all their albums have the same sound to it, but like they're all great. Like they're all worth revisiting. You know what I mean? Like it's not the
Yeah,
same crap over and over. That's like why am I listening
yeah, like
to it? But they
they
all
have
are
their
worth coming back to.
yeah, like every single song that I've heard from them is good. They have probably, in my opinion, the best percentage of good to bad songs. I don't think there's a Better Luck Next Time song that I've heard that I dislike. So
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's some that are better than others, but there's no like
yeah, I just have
skipping.
songs
You
that
know what
I
I mean?
like better than others. What?
Hmm.
When I'm making like a not a playlist, but just when I'm putting songs in the queue to listen to, and I'm just going through like all their stuff, I'll go from like every album too, because every album is good. Like some I like
Hmm.
more than others. Like I know we're gonna disagree on this because I remember you saying it was your favorite album, but their third album, the one with charades on it, is probably my least favorite. But that doesn't mean it's a bad album by any means. It just means I like the other three a little bit better.
Yeah,
Because I
that's probably
think
that's my favorite album.
as of right now, like I don't think I've heard every single song they've made, but as of right now, I think they have 100% like good to bad song ratio. I haven't heard a song from them yet that
Yeah,
I
I mean,
dislike. Even like like my so-called favorite bands, right? Like Zebrahead and like Bowling for Soup and shit. Like they all have a couple songs I don't like. Blink, we've been very vocal about the Blink songs that we dislike, and that's my
hmm
supposed top three. That's why I almost want to put them like above those bands, but then that would kind of make them my favorite band. And I don't know if they're my favorite band. That's why I just kind of don't have favorite bands anymore. I don't know if they're my favorite band, but they definitely have a way better like good to bad song percentage than my actual favorite bands. Because like Zebrahead, I don't like pretty much any of their metal stuff. Bowling for Soup has a few songs that I'm not too crazy about. Like I don't really like a lot of the covers that they've been doing recently, and I don't. I'm trying to think, like there's some songs on some of their albums I wouldn't say I dislike, but I'm just kind of like about that I don't really listen to. Whereas like yeah, with Better Luck Next Time, it's just 100% good to bad. Like I could just listen to their albums on repeat.
yeah, for sure.
So
So
I don't want to
I
make any
guess
I don't want to make any grandiose statements saying like they're my favorite band because I need some time to think about that. But I think I do like them more than my so-called favorite bands. So I don't know.
well, you heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first.
I
A
don't know.
couple of other, I guess, yeah, a couple other, I guess, hidden gems that I want to talk about is that this band, they were a local band to us. There were this band called the Crosstown Rivalry, and they
Oh
were
yeah.
phenomenal. And they were, I think, in my opinion, they were truly ahead of their time by like a few years. Like a lot of bands, their issue is they were too late or they just kind of fit in. But I definitely think the Crosstown Rivalry was definitely more ahead of their time. I feel like if they came out like a year or like 2 or 3 years after they did, they probably would have achieved the same amount of success as the other local bands from our area that got that Warped Tour level big, like Man Overboard, I Call Fives, Major Wonder Years, bands like that.
You
But
said Major
Crosstown
League?
Rivalry were, yeah.
Okay, you just cut out. So I was just making sure that the stream
Sorry,
reads
it's
is
just a
nice and
new. I
clear.
guess my bad. I'm just dealing with the new, I guess, form of talking to anybody
Well,
wondering what I'm doing.
it's also just sometimes I think it's also Discord, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
I was just making sure that the podcast heard you nice and clear.
Yes, but the Crosstown Rivalry was peers with those bands, and they played shows with those bands. And sometimes at the Brad shows, the band that was the headliner of all those bands was the Crosstown Rivalry.
All right,
And if
now
you love that,
for the podcast, tell everybody who Brad is. We obviously know Brad,
Brad,
but just for the sake of the
Brad, I
podcast.
believe his legal. I mean, I know his. I believe his legal name, Brad Kelsey, but everybody knows him as Mr. Brad Shows or just
Yeah.
Mr. Shows.
Yeah, his
Almost.
name on like it's a personal account. It's not like a page but his name on Facebook is like Brad's Shows. Like his
Yeah,
first
but
name
he
is
was just this
Brad's and
dude
his
who,
second name is Shows.
yes, yes, but he was just a guy who was pretty much the king of like the local show scene for a solid decade. It
Yeah,
seemed like I feel like when
yeah,
he retired is when the scene really died.
yeah.
But
If you were in a pop punk or like metalcore
hardcore,
band in the late 2000s and like the early 2010s, he was your guy. He was the one that would like book you into like playing local
yeah,
shows and shit.
everybody would go to him. You know, Berlin VFW, Skater's Choice, and Sewell, Red Dwarf towards the end. But that was definitely towards when I was already dying. But like those Skater Choice days were insane, and that's where the Crosstown Rivalry was king at, man. And like they got some fantastic songs, got a fantastic sound. If you love like they were like easy core in like '07, so it wasn't like straight up like it wasn't, you know, they weren't screaming, they weren't like playing in like they might have played in like drop C sharp, but they weren't playing like it wasn't like chunk no cap and chunk or set your goals or for your strong style of easy core. It's more of like I would call like a pop core almost, where it was very pop punky, but they did have breakdowns, gang vocals, chug in, and they got two EPs on Spotify. They got History is Just a Story and Pull Down the Sky, and they're from Southern New Jersey, and they are a fantastic band. So if you and some of my favorite songs by them, top three are "You Wish You Were Here," uh, "With All the Right Intentions," and I also love the song This is only making things worse." And they are a phenomenal band, local. They were, you know, pop punk, easy core, a little bit of that neon flang to it because they were definitely more on the poppier side of things, but they were definitely ahead of their time.
So
I feel like if they would have came out,
you think that's what made them kind of like under the radar? Is just how ahead of their time they were?
yeah, considering you know all the other bands that they played with, like I Call Fives, they were signed to Pure Noise Records. They were on Warped Tour. They were playing in festivals in Australia. Major League was on No Sleep Records. They were, you know, going tours with other bands. Man Overboard, they were huge for the scene. You know, they were touring with Newfound
Yeah,
Glory
I would
and
definitely say Man
having.
Overboard was probably the biggest of like those bands that you were talking about right there.
Yeah, I mean they were definitely the most like mainstream. Like the other two were kind of a tier below, but they were still like on like big independent labels of that time,
Yeah.
and they were still playing at work tours and going on like cross nation tours and going all over Europe and everything. Crosstown Rivalry, man, they didn't. They were playing with all those bands, and they just broke up in like '08, '09. And a lot of the members, like the guitarist and other vocalists of Crosstown Rivalry, became the guitar player for I Call Fives. And I know the drummer of Crosstown Rivalry became the drummer of that band Rich People that's still making music,
Okay.
which is funny because the complete genre shit switch because that band Rich People is that emo band that dude from Tight Lungs is in. It's pretty weird. But Crosstown was great. They were ahead of their time. It was like just listen to them and you'd be like, oh, this is '07, man. A few years because back when they were making music, that's when metalcore and like screamo and like hot topic core was all the rage. But the Crosstown were definitely my kings pop punk during the years they were banging making music at rocking out in Gloucester County, New Jersey.
Yeah,
And
and then all right, to switch gears a little bit into a band that I think could have been more popular if they weren't so late would be City Lights. Cuz they're another like
yeah,
they're pretty much pure easy core banging. I fucking love their first album and their first EP from like '08. But I think for them, they just kind of came out the gate a little too late. Like their EP was in '08, but like their first full length didn't come out until like 2011 when Easy Core was already like wasn't I don't think it was dead, but it was kind of like on life support
they
in
got oversaturated.
2011. Yeah, that like
2011 was when it was getting oversaturated. Everybody was making easy core, and nobody really cared at that point.
yeah. And then 2013 they had another album that like it was kind of weird. Like I liked a few songs off of it, but it was a lot more like I don't really know how to describe it. It was more like straightforward pop punk, but like I don't know, it just wasn't like as good. And then I think that was That was their last album, and it's actually kind of funny in like an upsetting way because they're like single off of that second album was a song called "See You at the Top." And they were bragging about how they were gonna like only go up from here, and then it was their last official release. I think they put out a single in like 2017. But as far as like anybody's concerned, is like they're done. They even said themselves like, we're not getting back together. We just want to put out singles when the timing is right. And I know their lead singer, he plays I think guitar in Beartooth now. And I think someone else from that band is also in Beartooth. I think it was their rhythm.
Well, I know their
guitar.
singer was like the bass player of Beartooth or something like that.
Yeah, he's either guitar or bass or something in Beartooth. And then somebody else from the band, I think, is also in Beartooth now. I think it was the rhythm guitar / backing vocals is also in Beartooth. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't roast me in the comments. I don't know.
Speaking of City Lights too, which I think is kind of funny, because I know the guy because I know the guitar player is also the backing vocalist. I remember like he quit for like after the first album released, and they brought in another guitar player. He used to play guitar for Sleeping with Sirens, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, so I think the first guy that left after album 1, I think he's the one that also joined Beartooth. So that'd be that's kind of funny.
He came back, I think, again. But it's just funny how there's like so many hardcore ties.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, they were easycore. That's just pop punk and hardcore put together.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that. But
yeah, they probably were my favorite easycore band, honestly, if I'm being completely honest. And yeah, I think if I had to say, I think they were just a little too late. You know, they came out the gate. They came out the gate. I mean, I know they had the EP in 2008, but like only really like people that's like really into music like us like go seeking out EPs, you know. Like the general like masses, they just look for like singles and like albums and stuff. They don't really give a shit about EPs. And their first full length, it was too late, I think, for them.
Yeah, they were definitely getting on the tail end of the easycore wind per se.
Yeah, and then 2013 came around. I think they just abandoned easycore completely. I could be wrong. I haven't listened to that full album because I remember like a couple of the songs are good. I like "See You at the Top" and I like the song "Truth Is," but some of the songs off that album weren't that great. And at that point, it was just too late. Like easycore was dead.
Yeah, which is tragic. And I guess speaking of easycore, I remember that I always forget like easycore bands because like back in like 2010 and 2009, like I just had a plethora of like unheard easycore bands I just rock out to. Like there was this band from Wales called like Save Your Breath.
Yo, yeah, dude. There's I think a couple Save Your Breath songs in my playlist on Spotify.
Yeah, like there was like this song. I don't know if it's even on Spotify because this was like with the old singer. It was like a weird demo in like 08, 07, but it's called like "FU I'm with Peter Pan." Like I said, but it's like 07, 08 when just you had it was like LOL so random band names, kind of like what we do. And then there was like I forget the other band, but they were from like France. It wasn't Chunk No Cap and Chunk. It was like Chunk No Cap and Chunk's like adopted redhead stepbrother. They were an easycore band. I think they're called like hold up. I'm gonna come back to them. And then there were just so many absurd easycore bands. Like I think there was another easycore band that I used to like their one song. I forget if it was I know there was a band called The Fight at the Show, and the name of the song was The Jet Stole Home. It was just straight up like just like popcore easycore from like 09. And it was just like I remember loving that song a lot. I think another kind of
what was the band that had the breakdown that was like round 1 fight?
Oh, I was about to bring them up next. They are called Stand Your Ground, and they're from like upstate New York. And it's ironic because I actually discovered them from Mr. Brad's shows.
Oh, very nice.
Because I remember like back in the 2010 or 2011, he made like a Facebook status saying like how like I love this band. They remind me of the Crosstown Rivalry. and like he was trying to get them to play a show down South Jersey, obviously, but that didn't work out because I would have went. But yes, Danger Ground. They had like I couldn't really tell you much about them because they only had the one EP on their Bandcamp. They're not even on Spotify. They're on Bandcamp, like
Yeah, that's how you
stangerground.bandcamp.com.
know this was like 2007, 2008.
Yeah, I think that dropped in like 2010. I think that's Danger Ground. But yeah, they got some good songs though. That song is called the Hemingway Hero, I believe it's called, and it's just ridiculous. You just gotta check it out for yourself to understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty much your typical like easy core like, and like the first line, it's like something about like friends.
Yeah, with friends like these and
Yeah,
oh yeah, Stand My Ground, Glory Is Ours. That's the name of the EP,
yeah, very good
and
stuff.
it's from 2011, and it's pretty good stuff. So if you want to check it out, I definitely recommend checking that out. And another band that is kind of a hidden gem in a way, even though they weren't that big in the pop punk scene, but they're definitely I think one of the more popular bands I'm about to bring up is the band Daggermouth
Okay.
from Vancouver. They had a they have an album called Turf Wars, and I think it came out like in '07 or '08, and they broke up like 6 months after it. And it's great. It's like if you want like old saves the day and like movie life esque pop punk, that's definitely up your alley. They got some like good like it's like the genres on there is pop punk and melodic hardcore. So Turf Wars by Daggermouth is a great album if that's what you're looking for a more movie life, like Lifetime, Old Saves the Day vibe going on. I mean, Old Saves the Day. I mean, first albums day. It's good stuff. They got good songs on there. I enjoy the songs. Too Late, No Friends. You Do This as a Fad. We Do This as a Lifestyle. I also enjoy. You Can't Soar Like an Eagle if you're hanging with the turkey. And Hey Nelson, Go Jump on the Garbage. Once again, it's '08, my boy.
Very nice.
And what made me think about them is because when you talked about City Lights and how like they had a song called "See You" at the top and they end up breaking up, like Daggermouth had like a song about how like they're never gonna leave. Like one of the lyrics is like we'll still be playing shows forever or something like that. And they break up like 6 months later.
I know that it's
Or like
always like it's upsetting, especially when it's a good band, because it's like, dude, they broke up. But then it's also like kind of funny because like, yeah, they're bragging about like we'll see you at the top, and then they broke up like 3 months later.
yeah, it seems like whenever a band is like bragging or like talking about like how they're gonna be around forever, that's kind of like a sign that like, yo, bro, expect a breakup in a year or two.
I know.
So I remember Midtown had a shirt that says like in like '04 said Midtown Forever, and they broke up that year. Or the Movie Life had a lyric that says like, "Cause I'm still effing here," like talking about he's not leaving, and they broke up. Like that song came out in March, and they broke up in October of that year.
It's depressing,
And
especially when it's a good band, but it's also like kind of funny.
yeah, the Crosstown Rivalry, they had a lyric that says, "We won't stop if you keep listening." Well, apparently they stopped listening because they broke up in 2 years.
Yeah, or a little more subdued example, but Set Your Goals. I forget the name of the song right now, but the line's like talking about I always want to feel this young, and they stopped feeling that young because it was on their last studio release.
Yeah, well, they had to eat, man. But that's when "Gotta Eat" got fails because I mean it's a great album, in my opinion. But it's it's just a mess when it doesn't.
Yeah,
Because that album is essentially just like Newfound Glory
yeah.
wannabe. But and a couple of other hidden gems I want to discuss. Just a couple more, just speed up before I let you kind of take the floor. Uh,
Okay.
there's this there's this band called Unsung Zeros, and they have a song called it's like 60 Seconds.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Came out like 2001.
I enjoy that song.
Yeah, like that band is that song is great. Is pretty much kind of the epitome of everything I try to do when I write music. They were from Orlando, Florida. They broke up in '04. They were also on Eulogy recordings. So apparently, all of the Floridian pop punk hardcore bands were just all on Eulogy Records.
I mean, hey,
Because
hey,
I mean, Newfound, Glass Eater,
yeah.
Keepsake.
I guess Florida pop punk just has a lot of hardcore ties.
Yeah, Unsung Zeros was on there. Hold up, who else was also on there? Dashboard Confessional is also a South Florida band. So I mean, so that's just funny to me that because I just was just looking them up. But yeah, they got a song called I think 60 Seconds,
Yeah, it's like
and that's
60 seconds or 60 minutes or something. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, it's a great song. Like if you just want that typical whiny, high pitched singer with really fast guitars and cool guitar riffs, that's definitely a song and band you want to check out. That's good stuff right there. And there's just so many like kind of more unheralded bands that I'm just kind of forgetting off the top of my head because that's just how it be like that sometimes. 'Cause it's hard to fit everything you want to talk about in a in a 60-minute recording session.
Yeah.
But another band I kind of want to golf on before I let T have the floor for what he wants to talk about is I talked about this a few weeks ago. There's this band called Monolize.
Oh,
They're like
yep.
nobody's in America, but they're huge in Japan because Scott Murphy from Alistair, who's like a legitimate like superstar in Japan for whatever reason. I mean, him and Rivers Como had an album together that went #1 there,
Yeah,
and
it's so
there's this
weird.
band called Mono.
Like,
There's
like,
this band
like
called Monolize there, where he's the only American guy. Everybody else is Japanese, but they're really good, and like most of their songs are in English, so don't worry about any like language barrier. I mean, some songs are in Japanese, so if you don't speak Japanese, you probably won't enjoy them obviously as much because people like knowing what people are saying, because that's just how we are as humans. Unless you're like a weeb. Um, but there's no subtitles in music though. But they're great though. They got some really good songs. I recommend checking them
yeah,
out if you just
I
want
really
another
like the
pop punk
one.
act.
I really like the one. What was the name of the song that you were showing me the other day?
Yeah, I'll let me pull it up real quick because luckily for you that I like being the guy that has all the stuff going.
Yeah, because I can't remember the name of the
Of course,
song right now. Well, I
of
remember
course when
the chorus is so catchy in that song. It's like I wish.
yeah
Yeah, no, he's like I miss you something.
yeah
I
yeah
miss.
that song.
Yeah.
Okay, well let me wait till my Spotify wants to not act up, and then I'll come back to you. But if you just like love Alistair, to anybody listening, like, if you love Alistair and you just because like they made 2 albums after they came back together, but they're kind of like, why do I listen to this? Because it just sounds the same. But if you want more Scott Murphy in your life in a more of a traditional pop punk setting, Monolize is definitely the way to go. Even though he's not like the main singer, the other guy is, because you can definitely tell because accent's
Yeah.
Japanese. But
Yeah,
he
yeah,
definitely
he
sings
definitely
English. But
does
like,
sound. He definitely does. Like I could tell, like the singer is like Japanese.
yeah, but if you really want a more kind of Scott Murphy in your life, I would check Mono Eyes out. That's a hidden gem. And another band is like there's this band called like The Gecko that was just like a Chicago super group of like pop punk bands of the ultimate. It's the ultimate tier 2 Chicago super group because it had uh the dude Chris, singer of Show Off, the guitarist of Show Off. You had Scott Murphy and Kyle Lewis of Alistair, and then you had Nick, the drummer of Mest, all in a band. And they released one album over in it was only released in Japan because Scott Murphy's a superstar. But if you just want more of just kind of like if you like Show Off, Mest, and Alistair, it's definitely something to keep your eye out on. I mean, they got some good songs on there. If so, that's another kind of more of a hidden gem of things that were big somewhere else in the world, even though ironically they're American, but nobody cared over here. So that's another band I should check out if they want more Alistair Mess to show off in their life.
Yeah, and it is really weird how that works out because like yeah, Zebrahead pretty much unknown over here. If somebody does know Zebrahead, it's because they either played Tony Hawk or watched Dude, Where's My Car. But in
Yeah,
Japan,
because
dude, they're like one of the big ones over in Japan. And
yeah,
like
it's funny
Alistair,
because
like Scott Murphy is a legitimate like pop star in Japan.
Yeah, I mean,
Patent
Zebrahead
Pending
had a
has a big like UK following.
yeah, and same with like
It's weird. It's weird how that
yeah,
works
I know it's
out.
just funny. It's funny how like you can get rejected by like your own like your form of art isn't really accepted in your homeland anymore, so you have to go somewhere else around the globe to make a living, which is really funny. By the way, I believe the song is called "Just a Little More Time"
Thank you.
by
I
Monolith.
knew it had the word more in it, but I couldn't remember
Yeah,
the rest of it.
yeah. So that's by Monolith. If anybody wants to listen to a bit more, get a bit more Scott Murphy in your life. Um, but yeah, it's just funny how like there's bands out there that are like just rejected by their own like nation or culture because that's just not what people want to listen to anymore. They got tired of it, so they go somewhere else where it's a bit more fresh. Maybe it's a bit more. It's like a hot new foreign toy. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's unique, more fun. It's just funny how like that works out, and good for them.
Yeah,
If anybody wants.
I respect the hustle. You know, you gotta do like what's best for your brand, right? I said
Hmm.
brand, but like I guess that does fit for band too. Brand is just more general.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. I mean, Better Luck Next Time was like that too. In a smaller scale, in the sense like they had labels in Japan, but everything was self-released over in America. But they had legitimate labels in Japan though, and their third album came out in like '09, but it didn't see an American release in 2011.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah,
I knew it came out in 2011 because that's like what it says on Spotify, but I didn't know there's a whole 2 year difference.
yeah, it was like 2 years, a year and a half that it came out like super early in Japan. It didn't see like the light of North America or the West for like another 2 years, which is insane. Just thinking that like, because I feel like that's just like I think you know. I mean, I'm about to get a little off topic, but I think like people in Japan just generally, I think, accept that sound more than we do in America nowadays.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like different countries, different cultures, different like things that we like and dislike. That makes sense.
I mean, you can see it's obvious because I mean, look how many bands that play pop punk that get signed there or go on big tours or sell out stadiums, and they come over
Yeah.
here where they're from, and they're playing in bars or venues the size of one of our basements.
Yeah, yeah, I remember when we saw Zebrahead. I think the venue that they played in, which I'm not knocking it, I was actually very excited, and I liked it. It was kind of small because it was like it was very intimate. Like there was no guardrail. We jumped on stage during
Yeah.
back to normal. So like as a fan, it's
Mhm.
cool, but like looking at it like from the other side, I understand why they wouldn't be happy with that. But yeah, so like the venue that they played, it's called the Knitting Factory, and it's in Brooklyn. The venue that they played was probably smaller than the basement in my old house.
Yeah, it was pretty small, but that's cool because I like the intimacy of
Yeah,
a
like as a
show like
fan,
that.
it's cool, but yeah, like because yeah, I always like to look at it like from a band's perspective. Like I could see why they wouldn't. I think the max capacity there was like 300. And when you're
Yeah, I
selling
mean, it
out
would just only
stadiums
make.
in Japan, coming home to play like essentially a basement show, like I'd be a little upset too.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like maybe it'd be cool just to kind of play that show again because in Japan you can't get if you're Zebrahead you can't play a venue like that in Japan.
Yeah, no, it would sell
Why would
out like
you?
immediately.
And then it would people being mad and everything. But like, when you come over here, it gives you an excuse to play a more small intimate show, and you can throw your fans in other places in the world a little bone or treat. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
as a little like treat, but not like make it like, hey, we're going on tour again. See you in see me seeing 200 people a night when I can see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree 100%. Now, all right. So a band I want to talk about real quick. I want to talk about a band that I love called Punchline. Okay, these guys were super underrated, and in the early 2000s, they had like they had a amazing like pop punk like kind of like light mall emo vibe to their sound. Um, and hold on, just 1 second, guys. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Let me just blah, blah, ba, 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 ba. This this is just comes with the territory of a live show. It's no big deal. Just Ed got disconnected, so we're just trying to get him back in here. La, da, 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 da. Can you hear me, sir? Okay, he cannot hear me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Shit. Alright. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna stop stream. But we're gonna be right back. We're just gonna figure this out. Just so we don't have dead air. We're just gonna stop stream and then we're gonna start stream back up.
Okay, cool.
Oh, never mind.
My bad.
Never mind. We didn't need to stop stream.
Yeah, my bad. My phone took a crap or something like that.
It's all good. Shit happens.
Okay, so we were talking about Zebrahead and people throwing bones at them and everything. Not throwing bones at them, but them throwing bones at fans and side.
Well, I actually segued into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is Punchline.
Oh, very nice. Okay, continue, sir.
Yeah, and that's something I know me and you can probably have a little bit of a code discussion on too, because I know you also enjoy Punchline. I think you feel the exact same way about Punchline that I feel about them.
Yes.
So in the early 2000s, they started out the gate. They were making amazing like pop punk with a mall emo twist, but I wouldn't call it mall emo. But it was definitely like straight up pop punk. It was almost kind of like Saves the Day, right? Where it was kind of like in between.
Yeah, I was also compared to it was like a Saves the Day through being cool thing going on.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was, and it was amazing. And then in the late 2000s, they kind of tried to play up the, I don't want to say neon because it really wasn't neon, but they kind of tried to play up that like plain white tees type sound where it was like pretty poppy.
Hipsterish.
Kind of,
like
but I wouldn't really say indie yet. Like in the late 2000s, it was just kind of like, it was just some like pretty like inoffensive like power pop. I don't even know if power pop's the right word, but it was poppy. It was very poppy. And then in the mid and late 2010s, they just kind of went off the rails and went like full hipster. I would even consider some of the stuff off their newest album to be like soft grunge. And
yeah,
we know how I feel about soft grunge.
I don't trust. I never trust a band when the singer comes out with a tambourine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had maracas. That's what he had. When we saw them live, he had maracas.
Kenny Vasoli had a tambourine, I think.
Yeah.
I don't trust a band when the singer starts pulling out the hand percussion instruments that you play in 4th grade music class.
Yeah, so they kind of took a turn. They're kind of weird though, because like most bands that are underrated, where they kind of break up after like 2 years or 3 years. Punchline's still around. They've been around since like 1998. So
yeah, they've been around for a long time.
Clearly, whatever they're doing is working. But I'm kind of like, I don't know what they're doing because like they've kind of like, they're not on like a mainstream level like at all.
Yeah,
and it's also not like they're putting out albums every 5-6 years like when they have time. Like their albums are coming out pretty consistently. I think the biggest gap was in between Delightfully Pleased and Thrilled, which was I think 5 years, but that was it. Like, because Delightfully Pleased was 2010, Thrilled was 2015, but then Lion, their newest album, was 2018. At least I say it's their newest. I think it's their newest album. They might have put out a new album since, but I'm not sure. And it's kind of upsetting to me because their 2003 album Action and their, in my opinion, their 2002 EP Rewind are two of my favorite releases in the genre. In particular, their EP, but their Action's a good album too.
Yeah, that EP is something else, man. That's
Oh,
definitely, in my opinion, their best work.
yes. Oh, Stop. That shit hits different.
I know it's like one of the. I mean, it rivals Better Luck Next Time for the best 5 minute long songs in the genre.
I agree because that the songs on that EP is very. It's a 4 song EP and it's like a half hour long. They have a song on
Yeah,
there that's actually legitimately 8 minutes long.
yeah,
And it's all song too. It's not like where it's like, oh, the track is 8 minutes, but there's like 5 minutes of silence. No, the whole song is 8 minutes long,
yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff.
but it's good. It doesn't feel like an eight
Yeah, I
minute
know.
long song. The only time I feel like it kind of drags on a little bit is towards the end, but by that point, like the song's already over anyway.
Yeah, I mean, at that point it's done, but I mean, it's so crazy how that EP was so phenomenal, and they had very, very minor success. I think their 2005 album was what, like 30 something on the Billboard
Oh,
charts.
37 everywhere. Yeah, 2006.
Yeah, yeah, but that was the only time they were ever like somewhat relative in the mainstream scene, and like they were weird because like they never really got like I can't really pinpoint to when their like scene peaked was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say it probably would be probably either just before or just after 37 everywhere.
Yeah, because I think they were playing shows with what Bayside and Hidden in Plain View and
Yeah,
more of
yeah,
the
they
kind of
play with a
melody
lot of like
version.
the I guess second tier bands, so to speak, like the Bayside. Uh, we saw them with Hidden in Plainview, and I think they play with like
Yeah,
early
and
November and shit.
yeah, like I think they were also playing. They also played shows with like Take This to Your Grave, Arrow Fall Out Boy, because I think because they were both on like Fueled by Ramen. I think.
Yeah, I know that. I think they're boys. Like I remember, I think Patrick Stump came out and sang on one of their songs too at like one of their shows. I forget what
Yeah, so
song
I
it
mean,
was. I think it was something off of Action. It might have been Heart Transplant, but I'm not sure.
yeah, because that was both '03, and they're both on the same label and the same kind of pop punk with a kiss of emo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to where
Yeah, but
yeah,
like I said,
to where they can kind of
but there's
pass for
no.
either. You want to call them pop punk, fine. You want to call them emo, also fine. They can pass for both.
Yeah, it's like well, Punchline is weird because it's like I couldn't like I can't. They're not one of those bands where I can lump them into like a specific scene. You know what I mean? Like I can't be like they were the drive-through bands or they were the Equal Vision bands or they were just they just seem to kind of just flounder wherever the wind took them.
Yeah, that's yeah, they're kind of just their own thing, and that's kind of where it is like today, because like they're kind of like they just went in a completely like indie direction. Like their new
Yeah, and
album
I
is
also
just
just
indie.
and I thought it was just funny when they said that the band they played the most shows with was Hidden in Plain View.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and it's kind of weird
I
when you
just think
think
that's just funny.
like they're like an indie like hipster almost kind of band now, but like in the early 2000s, dude, they were banging.
Yeah, I
And
know, but I just thought it was kind of weird because Hidden in Plain View was a drive-through band, and like drive-through records, they were pretty intent on like keeping it like within the drive-through family. Like
yeah,
Midtown, Census Fail, and Alistair would just all tour together just because they're on the same label.
hmm
Or like they would be like, yeah, Newfound, you're taking on the starting line, and you know Finch this tour, or the early November and the starting line will tour together. You know what I mean? And like they would be featured on all the songs. So I thought it was kind of funny when they said Punchline was playing the most with Hidden and Plain because I'm surprised the drive-through connection that would be possible.
I mean, hey, they they they're like they're like cool with everybody, even if they're not like a part of that clique. They're like friends with that whole clique, so like they're honorary part of the clique.
Yeah, it's like me with the football team because I was friends with Russ.
Yeah,
I still am. Like I was
yeah,
be chilling, like, what's up, boys? As I'm rocking my the same Newfound Glory shirt I wore 5 days in a row.
Yeah, the thing I love to say the podcast. If you wouldn't know, yeah, Ed's like best friend in high school was quarterback of the football team.
Yeah, well, he's also an interesting character to say the least.
Yeah, he really is. Shout out to Russ,
But
dude, you're awesome.
yes, shout out to him. But is there any other kind of what's one for hidden
Yeah,
gem band that you want to?
I wanted to elaborate earlier how I talked about like Billy Idol, and I just want to elaborate on that real quick because this one is a little bit different. This one is like a little bit different because Billy Idol was a huge success, a mainstream like smash hit.
Yeah.
But what I still feel like he's underrated to the scene, cause I don't know how influential he is to the scene, but he has more ties to pop punk than I think people realize. Like he was in a punk band in the 70s. I mean, it was the 70s, so it sounds closer to the Ramones, but I'm pretty sure they are labeled pop punk on Wikipedia. He was in a punk band in the 70s. His first album had like a little bit of a pop punk vibe. Like the only true pop punk song I would say on an album was probably Dancing with Myself, but there's a lot of songs that have like that kind of similar vibe, like the song Come On Come On, Dead on Arrival. There's another one that I can't think of right now. And then obviously Dancing with Myself. And then in 2005, he puts out like a pretty much straight up pop punk album. It's called Devil's Playground, and it's got some like rock on there. Like I think the hit from that album was a song called "Scream," which is just a rock song. It's like all about sex, regular rock star shit. But then there was also
I love
the
song just
like "World Coming Down" is just a pop punk song. The Christmas song, as much as you like to make fun of that song, the Christmas song fucking sounds like Simple Plan. It's called Yelling at the Christmas Tree.
Well, the song's good. The music video is what's funny because they couldn't even afford people.
I know, the music video, it's all CGI. The song Romeo Waiting. The song Romeo's Waiting is also really, really good. Like, I feel like Billy Idol doesn't get the credit that he deserves for like the pop punk scene, because like obviously I know like his big thing was like new wave, and just being from the 80s he gets lumped in with a lot of like rock bands, but but yeah, I feel like it's almost like not cool to like Billy Idol, like if you're in the scene, just because like he's 80s rock, when really I definitely think that he has a little more ties to pop punk than people realize.
And that does make somebody underappreciated in the genre.
Exactly. So
hidden gems.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he's underrated, because clearly he's had massive mainstream success. I would actually love to be Billy Idol. I'm sure that man is very rich. But yes. I think he's underrated in the sense that he's just like unheard of in the scene. Like we talked about it a while back on like episode 2, where I considered Dancing with Myself to be the first real pop punk song. And like you whether that's true or not, because I think we debunked on the episode that it wasn't. But whether that's true or not, like, when people talk about like old school pop punk, they're always talking about like the Descendants and like Screeching Weasel, shit like that. And like I get it, because Billy Idol isn't overall a pop punk artist, but I don't think Dancing with Myself gets the credit it deserves, or like the song like Come On Come On, or like any of that stuff. I mean, because the hit off of that album was White Wedding, which is a very dark, almost evil sounding song. The rest of the album kind of gets overshadowed, because the rest of the album is just light, like inoffensive 80s pop rock. Maybe I would even say it has a little bit of a pop punk flavor to it, as I've been saying this entire like little snippet.
Yes. Yeah, Dancing with Myself is definitely more closer, and for the sake of tonality, than what you would hear today in a pop punk band than you would hear with the Descendants. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Like even Blink covered Dancing with Myself. And I mean, they threw a little bit of their style in there, but it was really just a faster version of it. And if I lived under a rock and didn't know Billy Idol was a thing, I would just assume it was a Blink original. Because it sounds like it would just be off a Dude Ranch. And all they did was just change slight things. And it went from sounding like, like it went to sounding like it could be a Blink song. And Blink is like the poster boy for pop punk.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And a couple of other. You got anything more else about Mr. Idol?
No, I think I said everything I need to say. Like, I totally understand why someone would say he's not pop punk, and I'm not trying to argue that he is a pop punk artist, because I know that, like, pretty much after White Wedding got big, he kind of made more songs with that sound. So, like, all his 80s albums definitely kind of have that, like, dark, sinister sounding type stuff. But I just want the kids today to be mindful of the old heads.
Exactly.
I'm kidding, but like I would love to see Billy Idol get a little more scene cred that he does.
Yeah, that'd be cool if he did, but we'll see where God takes us with that one. And I guess I mean, there's so many like hidden gem bands that I remember like seeing local shows with, or bands just from going to YouTube rabbit hole. I remember you have to go on MySpace to find most of these bands. I'm about to do a quick rap name drop. There's like think like Catch Me If You Can, that was named after the movie. Like they had like one good song on, like they had a few good songs, but like I remember like loving it though. But like I don't even know if you can find it because on MySpace, like I feel like it's just like a lost media now. And then there was this other band called Striving for Better. That was a big like a Skater's Choice band back in like '06. They were like pop punk. I mean, it was the guy from I Call Five's band before. Another good hidden gems pop punk band is like True Things. They're like on and off. Like they're not really like a band. They just kind of make music like every 5 years. They're if you like like the movie Life and like Saves the Day, that's definitely more pop punk for you. Go way back. I remember back in 2007 or 2006, there was this band called the Breathalyzers from Germany. And I loved them because they sounded just like old Blink-182 with like funny German accents. But they were great though. They have a song called like Don't Want to Hear It. So if you want like classic Blink sound, I mean this is like 13, 14 years ago, so like I don't know if it even exists out there anymore, but the Breathalyzers, Don't Want to Hear It, that's a great song. And I mean there was a couple other bands like Battle Ghost. I used to play shows with like Richmond, Virginia. If you're into that. And there's just so many underground like bands that just never got their due for one reason or another. Some of it was not that good, but
and it's unfortunate because like some of these bands are amazing, and for people like us that like we go deep into the rabbit hole that is pop punk, like so we know them. But it sucks that like a lot of these bands like they're never gonna get like really known by like anybody aside from people like us who just go deep into the rabbit hole.
It's like you have to go deep into the rabbit hole, and a lot of these bands just from like being friends with these bands or just playing shows with them or like seeing them play shows. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of bands out there that just like it would be like a 4-hour episode if I want to go truly deep. But just from the ones I named though, if you like, especially like Keepsake and Better Luck Next Time, they're like my two big like. If you want like great music, I definitely recommend checking those two bands out.
Yeah, and I would definitely recommend, so pretty much all the ones that we went really in depth in today were probably the ones that I would consider my favorites. So like Better Luck Next Time, City Lights, Punchline, even Billy Idol. I'd definitely consider Billy Idol up there with like one of my favorites. And I think that pretty much wraps up my end. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I pretty much gave my final thoughts with the Breathalyzer and some other random band that I used to play shows with.
That little lightning round.
Yeah, because I mean, there's bands that have good music, but I don't know much about, so I don't want to like.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like, you don't want to go in depth about a band you don't really know about. A band you just think has like some good songs. I get that.
Yeah, like
That's
hidden
why
gems.
I didn't really go in depth earlier about like 5-year plan, because like I only know that one song, but that song is catchy as hell.
That's why they're in the lightning
Yeah,
round.
exactly.
But yeah, because like I wanted to really talk about people that like bands that like they wouldn't know exist because, like I said, if you're past, I guess, the casual standpoint, you're gonna end up finding the drive-through bands. You're gonna find out who Saves the Day is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be like a dead horse. That's like saying Final Fantasy VI is underrated because it wasn't Zelda or Super Mario. It's like, well, people know those games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I just like to compare
I
things to
get
video
it.
games.
I get it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to provide my little hot take, so to speak, on Billy Idol.
No, absolutely. I don't blame you, sir.
But I feel like that's not even a dead horse though, because I feel like I'm like the only person that's out here saying that, defending him, like Billy Idol is pop punk.
Yeah, and people got to hear, man. Because I mean, I definitely see at least because most people who like pop punk, they wouldn't. I mean, they know who Billy Idol is, but they wouldn't connect the dots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
Especially even if even if I'm wrong, right? And the only Billy Idol pop punk song is "Dancing with Myself," which I disagree. But again, music is subjective, so like what may be pop punk to me might not be pop punk to somebody else. So even if you only think the true like pop punk Billy Idol song is "Dancing with Myself," that's still a pretty fucking big song. And again, I know influence is different than popularity, so I'm not saying it was super influential, but it was super fucking big.
yeah, for
So
sure.
I don't really know where I was going with that, but I just wanted to say that.
Oh yeah, and before I say goodbye, I forgot to bring up another band. The band Fairweather, their first full length, "If They Move, Kill Them," especially the title track, "If They Move, Kill Them." That's a great song. It's a great pop punk. I definitely recommend. It's from 2001, so if you want that more kind of pop punk with a nice emo smooch to it, definitely check that out. That stuff's good stuff, man. So if anybody's listening, Fairweather, check them out. Keepsake, check them out. Better Luck, check them out. And whatever else I mentioned in the past, check them out.
And if you disagree with my hot take on Billy Idol, check out some of his deep cuts, and I think you might change your mind.
Yeah, so there's that.
All right, so yeah, I guess that about wraps it up today. Um, and yeah, so you guys know the drill. We'll be back next week. If you're watching live on Twitch, we'll be back most likely our usual time, Thursday at 3:30. Today was just kind of a bit of a fluke. And then if you're watching on YouTube, we'll see you every Tuesday at noon. And
See you,
yeah,
everybody.
be sure to like it up, subscribe, comment, because I would love to read some comments. And yeah, catch you guys later.
See ya. Bye bye.
Peace.